What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we're going to give you a very early projected record for the Alabama Crimson Tide based off of how tough their schedule is and just how good we expect each team to be. So before we get to the 2024 projection, let's look back at the projections from 2023. Here were the projections from last year for Alabama. They were 11-1 in the regular season. Our projection had them at 10-2. I actually predicted them to go 10-2, and they were could have very easily been 10-2 this past season. Avalon had them at 12-0. They thought they were going to go undefeated. The over/under was at 10.5, and that was a tough one. I even said that. This is a team that I felt like preseason was either going to go 10-2 or 11-1, and so that 10.5 right there in the middle, that was obviously a tough pick there. But let's get to these projections for 2024. And again, this is not a prediction. This is not our official prediction. That will be coming much later, but this is simply a projection based off of the schedule and just kind of putting teams into different tiers and to get this projection. So this is, again, the schedule for 2024. This is the scale that we use. If it's a 50-50 game, it'll stay in the white. If it's less than 20 or over 80, those are games where I think that the spread's going to be double digits, or let's say even more than double digits. It's going to be almost a guaranteed win type game. 20-29, 71-80, those are games where I think it'll be double digits. The spread will be 10-14, maybe 17, kind of in that range. And then the yellow and the purple, those are games where I think the spread will be closer to a touchdown, 6, 7, 8, 9 points, kind of in that range. And that's just basically based off of, again, how good these teams were last year and kind of quickly assessing them and not going too deep into this. That's why these are not actually predictions. And really, it's just about how tough the schedule is. So we'll start with easy wins for Alabama. You've got Western Kentucky, you've got USF, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Mercer. I think they're going to be favored by, definitely with Western Kentucky, South Florida, and Mercer, they'll be favored by 30 points in those games. Vandy, they'll be favored probably by 20-something. South Carolina is kind of on the edge. You put them in the blue or the green, really, that comes down to home field advantage. Being at home, that's going to be the difference in that game, and that's why I think Alabama probably will be favored by 18 points, something like that. Again, this is still going to be a good team. This is still going to be maybe even a tier 1 team, and that is where I put them. So if you're wondering, I had these different tiers that I used for this, and I did have them in tier 1. They could be a tier 2 team. Again, it's hard to say. It's tough to say right now, and we don't even know what the roster is going to look like at the end of the day. Still a lot of time for things to happen in the transfer portal and all that. So these are almost guaranteed wins, 5 of them. So you get off to a good start there with those 5, and then you get games. I have one in the 71-80% range, just because it's a rivalry. I don't think Alabama is going to be favored by more than 10-14 points. If this was not a rivalry game, if it was the Iron Bowl, and I was just looking at these two teams, this one might actually be in the green with South Carolina, especially because it's at home. But Iron Bowl, anything can happen, even in Tuscaloosa. I guess you never know. But yeah, we're going to go with this one in the blue. And then we go to the purple game, 61-70%. I've got Wisconsin and Missouri. I think Alabama will be about a touchdown favorite in both of these games. Wisconsin on the road, that'll be a tough one. And again, I don't think Alabama's going to be a huge favorite. I don't know that Alabama's going to be much better than Missouri this year. Maybe they won't even be better than Missouri. I don't know. But they're playing at home, and that's really the difference. That's why Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma, those games are not in the purple, simply because they're at home, or because they're on the road, and Missouri is at home. So Wisconsin, Missouri, both going to be tough games. Games where I think Alabama is definitely going to be favored, but not by a lot. If I had to guess right now, I'd say probably a 6 or 7 point favorite against Missouri, maybe an 8 or 9 point favorite against Wisconsin. Who knows? Wisconsin might be better than we expect. I've got Wisconsin kind of as a borderline top 25 team right now, but a lot of time to go through the offseason, of course, and figure out a little bit more about these teams. And then that's going to leave Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, and Oklahoma. These are your 50-50 games. Georgia, Alabama should be a great one. It's in Tuscaloosa, so they've got a shot. I think that's really one that could go either way. If I was making a pick, I'd favor Georgia. I think they will be a better team. But in Tuscaloosa, again, anything can happen. You got Tennessee on the road. That's going to be a tough one. Tennessee is going to be good, I feel like, and LSU as well, and those are really tough places to play. Oklahoma is a team that at this point I'm having a hard time really figuring out how good they're going to be. I've got them kind of as a tier 2 team along with LSU and Tennessee, but Maybe they're better. Maybe they're not quite that good. Again, it's early. And when you average all this out, so the way I do the math here is the games in the white are 50%, games in green are 100% because those are just counted as wins. The games in the purple here counted as 65%, the blue 75%. You average all that out, and you get a projection for Alabama of 9-3. So that's the projected record for Alabama. And if you're wondering, you think, wow, 9-3, it's going to be a different year. We're not going to see a bunch of undefeated and 11-1 teams at the end of the regular season. It's not going to happen. We have a totally different landscape in college football. You have to keep that in mind. These teams are playing much tougher schedules. We could even see the SEC or Big Ten champion finish with 3 losses. I mean, that is not unthinkable, or at least maybe 2 losses. A 10-2 team may wind up winning the Big Ten or the SEC. So that it's a different year. So when you see 9-3 and you think, wow, that's a big time drop. Well, it's not really. The top teams in these projections are going to be 9-3 or maybe 10-2 because of the tougher schedules. You've got Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma, Georgia, Wisconsin, Missouri. I mean, that's six games right there that are going to be very tough, and it's just a different era that we will go into this year, and it's going to be, I think, a lot more competitive, a lot more fun. Can't wait to see what happens. But yeah, 9-3 the projection here for Alabama. A very early projection. Again, our predictions will come later on, but I'd love to get your thoughts and maybe what you're thinking about Alabama. What would you project their record to be? Let me know down in the comments below.